do you not believe in the place for classification boards, including its right to refuse classification, which formally bans books from sale and distribution in Australia?
Yeah, look, generally speaking, I don't believe in politicians and bureaucrats setting up classification boards. Now, what we have seen in the last few days, Dave, is a classic example of why we don't need government censorship. We've had this appalling book come out. The Sydney Morning Herald has twice written it itself. Oh, it's just a book about sex education. It's nothing about that. Well, it's a lot more than that, okay? Now, I am a unity ticket, Dave, with you and a lot of your listeners that this is an appalling book. And I very much hope that young children do not read it. I think it's a dangerous book. Okay, but then the question is, so we are on a unity ticket when it comes to the moral question. But what we have seen this week about the political question is, I think you're saying, and you know we're mates, okay, but we're having a polite disagreement here.
Yeah.
I think you are saying, no, I want the state to come down and force behaviour under the threat of violence, because that's what the government is at the end of the day. The government's got power because it can threaten violence, and it does threaten violence, okay? It does execute violence. Now, what we saw this week is that without a classification board, well, they didn't get involved in this one, obviously, we had magnificent people like yourself and Kirralie Smith and Rachel Wong rise up, educate the community, say, look, this book's for sale, and the people without government involvement, the people rose up, and now the book has been largely withdrawn. Now you can get it online. I think you can get 1 or 2 bookshops, but it's basically been, it's been sort of, without the government being involved, it has largely been censored. Now this is the better way forward. I think there should be more of it.
The sensitivity to immorality, violence, sexuality, drugs on screen, smoking, alcohol, nudity, all of those standards actually reduce and decrease. And society is not effective at safeguarding the places that should be safe for families, public places. We see the most explicit soft porn displays in shopping centres. There's a whole lot of books out there that I don't think parents should have, and I'm not suggesting, and I don't think anybody's suggesting that our opinions and our sensitivities should be legislated. But legislation does exist, and the line can be drawn and must be drawn somewhere. And I think even consistent with a libertarian philosophy, that has to be on the near side and the benefit of the doubt of protecting our most vulnerable and impressionable citizens in this society, and that is children.
Now, libertarians believe very strongly in parental rights. And we believe that the parents should be policing what their kids are exposed to. And the truth is, most parents, even if they sort of are not great citizens generally in society, most parents are very loving parents. Now, yes, there are some bad parents out there. That is true. But the government also makes bad decisions. So we've got to ask ourselves a question. Do we want our parents to police our children's behaviour and what they're exposed to? Or do we want that threshold to be set by politicians and bureaucrats? Now the Libertarian says that yes, a small number of parents will make mistakes, but we believe that when we empower politicians and bureaucrats that they will make more mistakes, and we're outsourcing that to the politicians and bureaucrats, and we're empowering the politicians and bureaucrats. We are distrustful of big government, and we think that generally we trust the parents more. And so when someone is upset, like a lot of viewers on your show will be very upset about this book, and then they will sit around and they'll say, the government's got to do something about this. I want people to move on from that mindset. I want people to have the mindset saying, okay, this book is dangerous. How can I mobilise with other like-minded people in the community to do everything I can to prevent as many young little 8-year-old kids looking at this book as possible? That's the better way to go.
The major point you're making is essentially that you distrust government to draw a line. And in principle, I agree. Everything you said philosophically, I resonate with. I don't trust government. We've seen over the last 3 years that government is untrustworthy. But that doesn't diminish or counter the reality that there must be a line, that we're not suggesting, and I think it's reckless to suggest that government not be involved in enforcing a duty of care for parents. This is not a new concept, and it's not a revolutionary or even authoritarian concept.